on black-white mid-range. The white splash here, again, not reminiscent of what Charlie Reinhardt did last weekend. Tenjum with just 4 copies of Blood Baron and a couple copies of Deicide in the sideboard. Nothing crazy going on here. For Shumaker, he's playing Esper Control. Unfortunately for him, he's got 2 Doomblades in his main deck this weekend.
Yeah, that's not going to do too good for him in this particular matchup.
It will kill Mutavault. That's really about it. The rest of the stuff is, really what we're used to seeing. A little splash of Thoughtseize. He's got a couple copies of Zorius Charm, Spheres, Dissolves, Verdicts, Jaces, Elspeth's Revelations, a couple copies of Last Breath as well. So we'll start here with a Temple of Deceit. Top card goes to the bottom. Tenjum will take a draw. He's on 6 cards, 7 now after he's drawn. He'll have a Temple of Silence to help undo his mulligan.
In this matchup, depending on who you ask, it can go really either way. I think that a lot of it comes down to how prepared the players are, both main deck and after board. The loss of Night Veil Spectre certainly helps the control decks a lot. Because a lot of the black decks aren't playing Night Veil Spectre anymore.
Thoughtseize is going to see 3 Swamps, a Mutavault, a Lifebane Zombie, and a Blood Baron with Scopa. It seems like a lot of people are just going towards Lifebane now. I guess there's like a decent amount of green decks out there, but
yeah, I think it puts a little bit more pressure than Night Veil. It could also gives you a little more better information. Not sure what's right though. I mean, Night Veil Spectre in the mirror in particular and against control decks, just so good. And I think if you wanna really beat those decks, you're better off playing Night Veil Spectre than Lifebane. But I think Lifebane's probably better against a more random field, a more diverse field.
Temple of Silence plus a Plains here for Shumaker. Passes the turn back over to Tenjum. Tenjum just played a Mutavault for his turn. He's going to fire that Mutavault in. He's got plenty of lands in his hand. We'll see if this works out. Maybe this is used for the Doomblade. It'll actually be used for the Last Breath. Take care of that. Tenjum will gain a little bit of life there in that exchange, but if you're Shumaker, you got to be happy getting a Mutavault off of the table and keeping a pretty healthy land advantage, as Tenjum is going to just play Godless Shrine and pass the turn back. Shumaker will take a draw here. We'll see if he's got one of his awesome 4 mana spells to cast. He's just going to play a Temple of Silence right now. Keep in mind, when Shumaker's mana base, only 1 blue mana in that Temple of Deceit. So
yeah, he can't cast the Dissolves in his deck right now. So you should see if Andrew can take advantage of this. But Ben did keep the card on top of his library with that Scry.
Godless Shrine tap, pass the turn back, does Tenjum. Shumaker does draw a card. It is a Hallowed Fountain, so if he's got a Jace to play, he can certainly do it now. The same can be said for Dissolve, assuming he does pay 2, and he will go down to 16.
Yeah, Jace minus would be huge here.
You see him spread the 4 mana out. I imagine it's going to be the Planeswalker. And that's exactly what it's going to be. The Architect of Thought does show up on camera for the first time this weekend. Starts on 4. We'll see if he goes down to 2 or up to 5. Down to 2 we go. 3 cards are lands. 2 of them are temples and Silence and Enlightenment, and 1 island.
Yeah, there have to be 2 Scry lands there, don't there? Generally, you're like, all right, Scry are the other lands, but nope. Andrew doesn't have that option here.
And there's your split. You're going to get 2 cards there. Temple of Silence in the alley going to go to the grip. Enlightenment going to go to the bottom. That'll be Shumaker's turn, unless he has the Thoughtseize to cast, which I don't think he does. So he just kicks it back over to Tenjum, who will hopefully play land number 4 and do something here.
Yeah, but Andrew might regret attacking with that Mutavault earlier.
Yeah.
And Ben obviously can't do that, make that play. Esper loves when they can just get some cards off the Jace, because they always expect it to just die to a hero's downfall.
Shumaker does draw his card for the turn. Again, he is ahead on lands because of a Last Breath on a Mutavault. Interesting thing here from Tenjum as Jace does tick up. Again, I'm a little surprised to see him not playing the black-green version that he won Cincinnati with and really, change the landscape of Standard with the splash of Abrupt Decay and Vraska and Golgari Charm. He is just on this black-white version, which we have seen him play before in the Open Series when we've come to this part of town. Again, with the splash just for Blood Baron and a couple copies of Deicide in the sideboard. No Banishing Lights or Robes of that stuff like that, as here is a Blood Baron that Shumaker did see early in the game from Thoughtseize.
Yeah, and maybe Andrew just felt that Blood Baron's really primed to dominate a tournament. People really aren't as ready for it as they used to be, so.
3 more lands here for Jace. Temple of Silence on its own. 2 lands going to go to Shumaker's grip. Temple will go to the bottom. Probably working his way towards the Sphinx's Revelation here.
He has access to 6 mana right now. He hasn't played a land for the turn yet. Needs to be a little bit concerned about that the Blood Baron, because it can kill the Jace.
Shumaker's got to love the way this game's going for him right now, though. He's tapping 4 mana right now. See if this is a Verdict.
One of the few ways he can actually deal with a pro-white creature in his deck.
Yeah. Godless Shrine is his land for the turn. That comes into play tap. And Shumaker will pass the turn back over to Tenjum, see if he has anything to do this turn. The problem for Tenjum, especially in game 1, is that, you know, if he draws all these removal spells, they don't really do very much. He's got another Blood Baron to play, but he also has a Bile Blight in his hand right now. I guess that does have a little bit of use around Elspeth tokens, stuff like that, but for the most part, that's a dead draw.
Yeah. But another Blood Baron comes down, and Blood Baron is actually pretty annoying for this deck. Esper doesn't have that many ways to interact with a Blood Baron short of a Supreme Verdict. Obviously, Ben's in a position here where he could just kind of Revelation out of it and not concerned with himself, but, you know, I'm not sure what his hand is right now. I know he has a lot of land.
The one thing now, too, is because he knows that Tenjum does have Blood Baron, when we talk about the sideboarded games, he's probably going to leave some verdicts in where maybe he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Simply because Blood Baron is there. Now, oftentimes, Esper will leave in a decent amount of verdicts just because taking a hit from a Desecration Demon isn't the best idea, but now he has no choice but to leave them in.
Yep. So it definitely makes sideboarding more of a difficult decision for him.
Shumaker going to take up Jace. He's going to play a Mutavault and just kick the turn back. Feels like a Revelation is coming. We'll see if that's the truth or not.
Let's see. I mean, that's pretty much the card he needs to kind of deal with the Blood Baron, so to speak.
Blood Baron going to come across, take care of Jace. Shumaker says that's fine with me. See if he remembers the trigger or not. In theory, he should only gain 3 instead of 4, and Tenjum only does gain 3, goes up to 27. No Revelation here for Ben.
Yeah, Ben revealed a bunch of lands off the Jace. Didn't really get that many interesting power cards, and here we see a second Jace. I believe he drew that last turn, so we're going to see that down tick again. Trying to find the Supreme Verdict here, but
2 lands and a dissolve.
Looks like he's going to lose yet another Jace here at the Blood Baron. Really not drawing anything of real relevance right now.
Seems like a player who may have a couple copies of the Tension Sphere in the grip.
Yeah.
Nothing to really do with that.
A lot of probably the Tension Sphere, maybe Last Breath. He's got that Dissolve, obviously, but, you know, it just goes to show you how powerful Blood Baron can be at times.
Well, Packrath the draw for Tenjum this turn. Don't know if he's going to want to commit that to the board or not. But Blood Baron's going to come rumbling into the red zone. There goes Jace again. So Jace, a glorified divination.
If I was Andrew at this point, I would basically say, Ben, you're going to have to draw a Supreme Verdict. I wouldn't cast any spells, because if you cast any spell, you know about the Dissolve. So that's one scry that he gets closer to dealing with it.
Yeah, it's dangerous territory. The one thing you might not be able to see in the mana base here is that Ben doesn't actually have double blue open. He's got a Godless Shrine.
Wow, yeah, okay.
He's got a Godless Shrine, a Mutavault, a Temple of Silence, stuff like that. So he can commit, but at the same time, I understand where you're coming from, where, you know, you might just want to say, all right, me and Blood Baron are going to try to get this done by itself.
Well, you figure Ben's likely only answer to Blood Baron is a Supreme Verdict. So if he draws it, then you're losing your rat too. I know you want, but then again, you're putting him basically on a 2-turn clock now, because you activate the rat at the end of the turn, and that's 8, and Ben's already at 16. So I think it's a reasonable play, especially like you said, I wasn't aware that he didn't have double blue. So not having to play around counterspell is perfectly reasonable. Plus, he gets to discard that Bile Blight in his hand.
What are you saying about Bile Blight? What are you trying to say? The Tension Sphere going to be placed on the stack here. Take care of this pack rat. Obviously, cannot take care of the Blood Baron of Escopa. So there goes the 1/1 rat. Shumaker still trying to find some sort of way to get this Blood Baron on the table. That will work.
That is a way to deal with it.
Elspeth's Minus will take care of the Blood Baron, presumably. And there it goes. So out of trouble now is Shumaker, at least for the moment. Going to play an island. Pass the turn back. The shields are down. And there's a Hero's Downfall to take care of that. But what's the worst that Tenjum can do here? Picks up another copy of Hero's Downfall.
Yeah, it just has so much removal in his hand here, which is part of the problem with Mono Black Game 1 against control decks, is that you just have way too many cards that just can't interact with the control deck.
Has not found a card like Underworld Connections this game either. There's another copy of Jace, the 3rd one of the game for Shumaker. So he's going to organize his mana appropriately, be able to play the Planeswalker, hopefully leave up the Dissolve, turn over a couple of cards. The 4th Jace, along with a Hallowed Fountain and a Supreme Verdict, are the cards that are revealed.
Yeah, I'd imagine this is probably Jace or no. If I was Ben, I'd snap take that Jace. Andrew does have another Hero's Downfall in his hand, but yeah, he can't really deal with the 4th Jace, the Jace Architect of Thought.
You're just looking for Revelation at this point for Shumaker. 2 cards going to go to the bottom, the Jace does go to the grip.
Yeah, the fact that he finally drew an answer for the Blood Baron means that Ben is just pretty comfortable being patient now. He's not under any stress. He has to assume that Andrew probably has a bunch of dead cards in his hand or lands. So he's not too concerned.
You see Tenjum kind of cautiously cast this this Hero's Downfall at the Jace because he knows there's another Jace in the grip. So am I supposed to cast it on this one, or am I supposed to wait for the other one? But I think you have to cast it here, and I think Shumaker's considering, do I dissolve this or not, but he's not going to.
Yeah. Yeah, you know about the dissolve as well. Maybe you're thinking about, do I wait till Thoughtseize, or maybe give myself a turn to draw Thoughtseize or something?
Shumaker going to draw a card. I think if he does find a Revelation, I think he'll play a land and then Rev, and then Tenjum will probably concede.
Yeah.
But we just hasn't found one yet. We've seen that happen so many times. And there's an island. This is probably another, this is an Elspeth. Okay.
All right, so wow, Andrew drew a third Hero's Downfall, thinking he was probably going to use it on a Jace, and now he has to deal with an Elspeth as well.
Yeah, and again, because we know about the dissolve in Shumaker's hand, he'll probably dissolve this Hero's Downfall because it's probably worth fighting over your Elspeth. Again, he does have an Aetherling in his deck to be able to win with as well.
Yeah, I think I could see dissolve getting pulled here.
And there are 3 soldier tokens from our IQ program. If you guys want to figure out how to get those, you can definitely head over to StarCityGames.com to check out everything about our IQ program. That's why we have these wonderful squirrel pins on. As dissolve will take care of the Hero's Downfall. Shumaker left it on top. What do you think that is?
Might be Sphinx Revelation.
What do you think the top card is?
Oh, Big Daddy Desecration Demon. A little too late to the party.
Just a touch. Just a touch.
Not going to be that effective against active Elspeth.
Shumaker has a few ways to beat that. Ben does draw a card.
Let's see. Are we gonna see Elspeth get down ticked? We're gonna just sacrifice a token and attack.
Here's 4 mana. This is gonna probably be a Jace to lead things off. So there is another Planeswalker. Blue-white doing its thing right now. Down we go. Detention Sphere and 2 lands. All right, D-Sphere to the grip. Lands are going to go to the bottom. I'm convinced he doesn't have Revelation in his deck now.
Just cut it.
Yeah.
Thought it was too clunky.
It's a new strategy.
It is a bold strategy. I will give you that.
Ben going to activate Elspeth again. 3 more tokens going to come into play. See if he's going to cast D-Sphere pre-combat to take care of this Desecration Demon, or if he just wants to sacrifice a creature. Or just do nothing.
Vile Blight turned on.
Yeah?
Mistake here, perhaps, by Ben. He might end up losing his Elspeth.
We'll see. He's going to check the graveyard first here. You see Tenjum fingering that Vile Blight. It looks like he's ready to cast it. And he will.
It looks like Ben has a second dissolve in his hand.
Is this something that you want to dissolve, though?
Well, if the tokens are gone, then you have a Mutavault, so you can actually activate the Mutavault to sack it.
I don't think this is worth dissolving. Like, I'd rather save my dissolve for, not Thoughtseize so much, but like a card like Underworld Connections or Blood Baron. You see, he's considering casting this now. Though.
As long as Ben is willing to lose his Mutavault, and then you don't want to lose your Elspeth. That's for sure. If I was Ben, I probably wouldn't even put myself in this position. I probably would have just uptick Jace or cast Attention Sphere.
Yeah, that's how I feel too.
Probably downtick Jace rather, Elspeth rather, just because you want to just kill it. You'd rather just save your Detention Sphere for like an Underworld Connection.
Tenjum drew another Vile Blight, so get that out of here. Again, Ben has this game, I feel like, well in hand. He just needs not to make any missteps, really. He's going to activate Mutavault and sacrifice that. Desecration Demon's going to bite the dust, as far as this attack step is concerned.
Yeah, well, he dodged the bullet that turn. I mean, that was definitely the turn that he could have technically punted this match.
Yeah.
So let's see what he decides to do here.
Got to keep that advantage. Here's 3 mana. He's going to figure out how he wants to tap it. Wants to make sure he has plenty of blue mana. There is a Detention Sphere to take care of the demon. Now you can play with these Planeswalkers again. You can see the spheres. 1 on Pack Rat, 1 on Desecration Demon. Just want to make sure you guys can see that at home.
Still hasn't upticked his Planeswalkers yet.
Temple going to put the top card to the bottom. Jay's going to tick up. Elspeth going to tick up 3 tokens. Very close to the ultimate at this point.
Yeah, I believe if he wants to, he could do it next turn.
Yep.
Give himself a little bit.
Tenjum just draws his card and passes back. This often feels like how game 1 goes in this matchup. It just feels like really, really good for the Esper deck, as there's finally a revelation, and Tenjum says, I've seen enough, and we'll concede the game. But things change drastically after sideboard here. We'll step that way in just a moment, as Ben Shumaker does win game number 1 over Andrew Tenjum, number 9 on our Season 2 leaderboard here on the Open Series. Esper Control up a game over Black-White mid-range. However, you have Tenjum's sideboard in front of you, and things get much better after sideboard.
Yeah, he's got 2 copies of Decide, which obviously are good against the Tension Spheres and Oblivion and Banishing Light, like we've seen in Game 1. It gives him a way to deal with those enchantments, which means that Ben actually might have to deal with the Underworld Connections unchecked. He has 2 copies of Duress, obviously very good. 2 copies of Erebos, God of the Dead, another card that's very good in this particular matchup. 1 Pithing Needle, which I think you want to bring in against all the Planeswalkers you're going to face against. He also has those 3 copies of Mind Rat, which we mentioned earlier. Generally, you think about this card for the burn matchup. But again, against Control, I mean, Control decks really don't have nearly as much card draw as like the Control decks that we're kind of used to in the past. I mean, they have Jace, obviously, and Sphinx Relations, but they don't have anything beyond that. So Mind Rot could be actually pretty effective at getting you know, some key counters or perhaps even a Planeswalker. So probably going to see 2 copies of Dayside come in, the 2 Duress, 2 Erebos, 3 Mind Rot, and the Pithing Needle. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cards in total coming in. And obviously,
plenty of trash to board out.
But the thing is, he's not sure about what version of Control he's playing against. Like, he's got 4 copies of Devour Flesh. Can you really afford to board out all of them if your opponent's playing Blood Baron?
That's true.
That's the thing.
That's true.
Do you want to or the Bile Blight clearly is a card that I can see coming out. But beyond that, maybe you shave a couple of your Pack Rats out of the deck. Maybe a couple of Desecration Demons, but there's really not that much that he wants out in this particular matchup. But it'll be interesting to see what Andrew decides to do.
For Shumaker, 2 Dispel, Deicide, 2 Negate, 1 Ultimate Price, a Dark Betrayal, a Blind Obedience, 3 copies of Nyx Fleece Ram, and 4 copies of Nightveil Spectre. And that's why you kind of mentioned, do you leave the removal in? I think he'll leave in Hero's Downfall just because Hero's Downfall is a good Magic card. You can take care of Planeswalkers. It can also take care of Nightveil Spectre, which is certainly good in this matchup if you're on Shumaker's side of things. The 2 Dispels, kind of whatever. Deicide will take care of Underworld Connections, so definitely going to bring those in. Negate can take care of the discard spells and Underworld Connections, so you kind of like those as well. Ultimate Price will take care of, you know, most of these creatures except for Blood Baron with Scopa for multiple reasons. Same thing can be said for Dark Betrayal. And that's really about it as far as options are concerned. They're all pretty good ones here, and I don't expect, you know, the next couple of games to be landslides like we saw in the first one, but I think that things are still, you know, pretty good for Shumaker here.
Yeah, to have access to Nightveil Spectre after board, plus having, you know, that 1 Dark Betrayal could be a factor, and then you have another way to deal with Underworld Connections and Dayside. So, yeah, I think Shumaker's got to be happy with his particular build after board.
Game number 2 will be underway shortly for you guys in just a moment. Again, Shumaker did win game number 1 in this match between Esper Control and Black-White mid-range. No revelation necessary in game 1. Kind of a surprise, all things being honest. Both players going to take a look at their opening hands here. Tenjum going to take a look, see if he's happy with what he sees. Doesn't take much to keep here. You know the games are going to go long.
Yeah, it looks like he has lands and maybe connections. That might be good enough.
That'd be good enough for me. I'm not too picky.
So Shumaker, it looks like he's going to mulligan. And yeah, so it looks like Andrew's okay with his 7 cards, and Shumaker's going down to 6 here.
Guess who wants to join the party?
Who's that?
Brian Kibler.
Oh, come on.
There he is. Come on, you love it. You do.
You have to warn me.
Why watch players mulligan when you can take a look at this? Oh, baby. Brian Kibler's playmat is available at Star City Games now.
How did he get? Where was this picture taken? I don't understand how this even happened.
And now you're doing this to yourself. He wrote a blog post on his blog, bmkibler.com, and he explained exactly. I think this took place on the Magic Cruise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and obviously the Magic Cruise is something that Steve Port and company do. That's a great thing. I've never got to be on one, but everyone loves it. My roommates have gone on it before, and I believe that's where he took this photograph, and now it has taken off. The playmats are now available at StarCityGames.com, so if you guys want to pick them up there, you can. They started selling them at GPs, and they were selling out really fast, and so we got on board. So there you go.
God bless him. God bless him.
I say, why watch mulligans when you can watch Kibler? That's what I say.
That's a good policy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ben going to lay out his 6 cards now. We'll see what he can find. Again, Tenjum has kept his 7 down a game. Things do change after sideboard, though. And there is just a Mutavault and passing the turn. So maybe he wants to get a little frisky on the early turns here. Shumaker is going to predictably lead off with a Temple. This one is of Enlightenment, leaves the top card on top, passes it back to Tenjum, who does have a Swamp and now an attack for 2. So he's giving the beatdowns right away.
The strict beatdowns from Andrew's deck right here. So, oh, good start for Ben. He's got a couple of Scrylands to help smooth out his draw. So despite a mulligan to 6, you know, not too bad shape right here.
I think this deck, because they have 12 temples, the mulligan thing isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
No one wants to mulligan, but I think it's that big of a deal here. First discard spell, it's Thoughtseize. Shumaker going to show a Jace, a Nightveil Spectre, another Jace, a Dissolve, and then another Temple and an Island.
Wow, that's a good grip there. That is a solid mulligan.
Yeah, I'd be pretty happy if I was Ben right now.
So what does Andrew take here? I mean, Nightveil Spectre is probably the thing he's probably most concerned with right now. Don't know what removal he has in his hand, but I wouldn't be surprised if Nightveil Spectre hit the bin right here. Obviously, Jace is problematic as well, but depending on how much removal he left in his deck, he might be concerned with that Nightveil Spectre.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? Because even if he takes a Jace or something and then Ben plays a Nightveil Spectre, your entire turn is like Hero's Downfall, your Nightveil Spectre. That's not a spot I would be really happy to be in if I was Tenjum.
Tenjum is just not in a good spot here. It's a really tough hand. Obviously, Thoughtseize is still the best card in Magic, but some of these hands kind of make it look silly because you're not really getting anything that great.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, I'm still probably going to lose.
Yeah.
But
is it time for Mutavault to come in? It is. So Shumaker's going to go down to 16.
So, yeah, takes a Jace. Not that concerned with Nightveil Spectre, possibly because he has a Desecration Demon, and he thinks that's going to be able to hold off the Spectre next turn. Obviously, with Dissolve and Nightveil Spectre, he's got to choose which one he wants to do this turn.
Let's not forget, we saw Ben's hand. He had an Island and a Temple. So if he plays Nightveil Spectre this turn, he might not be able to play Jace the following turn.
Yeah.
So that's a real consideration here as well. And you see why he's a little bit hesitant, I think, on what to play. Also has a Dissolve in his hand as well. Maybe he just wants to play an Island, leave Dissolve up. No, that seems like the worst of the 3 options, but that's definitely something he can consider right now.
I think the fact that Andrew took the Jace, I think Ben has to be a little concerned that Nightveil Spectre might not do it. Just if you think about it, if Andrew plays a Desecration Demon, given my hand, I can't do anything about that, so maybe I just play land and pass. You know?
There's your Island. He's just going to leave up Dissolve. Wow.
Yeah, so I think he kind of suspected that it's probably not a good idea to just play the Nightveil Spectre here. Wait till I get to 6 mana. It's a pretty good threat later in the game, too, so it doesn't really matter.
Who's to say that Tenjum will cast a spell? He's going to try to attack. Shumaker's going to take 2. 14. I think if you're Tenjum, you got to be thrilled with how this turn went.
Well, I think if you're Ben, you're fine, too. I mean, you're not that concerned. You just want to make sure that he has plenty of lands so he can make his land drops. Just, obviously, Dissolve versus Mutavault is always going to be a tough spot to be in, but
yeah.
He's still got basically 7 turns before he's got to really be concerned about it.
Here's the Temple. He's going to consult his hand before deciding where he wants to put that. You saw Tenjum play a Godless Shrine and pass the turn back, so he does have access to white mana.
Last Breath would be huge here.
Yeah, that's like the scariest thing if you're Tenjum, is that turn where he just plays the Island passes and represents the Dissolve, is that if he has a Last Breath or a Doomblade for your Mutavault.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd leave Doomblade after sideboard, but again, it does take care of Mutavault, which is a real problem for these decks. So you saw Shumaker going to leave the top card on top before passing it back over to Tenjum.
Fleece main line would be huge in this particular board state. Or Nick's Fleece line, Ram.
There's Lifebane. Will we counter this? This feels like
a counter.
This feels like a test spell.
Yeah.
To be countered by Tenjum. And I feel like you have to exchange the resources here, get your Scry on, even though your Scry is going to leave the top card on top still. But I think, like, given that your next couple of turns are probably mapped out, as here's another Mutavault and attack for 2, I think you're almost forced to counter that, which Tenjum has to be thrilled with. Shumaker goes down to 12.
Yeah, Shumaker's now he's in a tough spot, facing down double Mutavault and at 12. He doesn't even have that Dissolve anymore. I think we might have to see a Jace uptick here, right?
And that's one of the reasons that I would have liked to cast the Nightveil Spectre, is because Tenjum gets to dictate how the game goes. Right now, he's dictated everything, right? With the discarding spells and playing a test spell for you to counter, attacking on Mutavaults and pacing the game. And I wouldn't want him to get to dictate how things go. I would want to be the one to have to dictate how things go. As here's Jace is going to tick up.
Well, I think Ben is okay with this particular situation because he might have drawn a Supreme Verdict. So now, if Andrew does play Desecration Demon, he can basically just uptick Jace again and cast Supreme Verdict. And now he doesn't have to worry about that. So he still has to worry about the Mutavaults, but obviously Jace, and then even Night Veil Spectre. Night Veil Spectre can actually block and kill Mutavaults too. So let's see what Andrew decides to do here. Does he want to just try to go after Jace? That he'll basically have to devote all his resources this turn to doing that, though. And he won't even be able to kill the Jace, so just drop it to 3. Yeah, if I'm Andrew, I think you have to try to get a big threat into play here, like a Desecration Demon.
Maybe it's just more Mutavaults. You see him reaching for mana here. He's going to tap 4. Maybe like an Erebos. Could be Desecration Demon. You see he's a little unsure of himself. Counting his mana, trying to continue to pace this game a certain way. Again, the Mutavault will only attack for 1, assuming that Ben does remember the trigger. So that's going to go down to 4. And now here is Desecration Demon, as you did mention. Now, don't forget, Tenjum does have a Hero's Downfall in his hand that he chose not to cast this turn.
Yeah, I don't think you want to just use it right now on Jace. Next turn, potentially, but yeah, I think you just want to get a threat out there. Force Ben to do something.
That is Supreme Verdict.
Yep, so he did
there's
have
the exchange. Jace is going to tick up again. There's a Hollow Fountain, pass the turn back.
All right, so Ben has 6 mana here. He dealt with the 6/6. Let's see if Andrew draws anything good, like an Underworld Connections here.
If you're Tenjum, I feel like still you have to wait. I feel like even though, sure, my opponent has a Jace in play, I feel like the pacing this game is really good for him.
Yeah, I'm sure Andrew's happy because he's got the 2 Mutavaults. He's got the Hero's Downfall deal with the Jace now. But he's been drawing a lot of land, so he doesn't have that much left in his tank. He actually just, I think he drew another Mutavault this turn, so that's obviously very good. But yeah, one top deck Elspeth from Ben in this game's completely different.
Yeah, there is the 3rd Mutavault. So even though he's been drawing a lot of land, Mutavault showing exactly how good it is. 2 Jace triggers, Shumaker does remember, so it's just going to be attack here for 2 from those Mutavaults. Ben will go down to 10. He'll draw a card for the turn. Revelation right now wouldn't be so bad, but you mentioned Elspeth, and that's not that.
Wow.
That's 2 copies of Night Veil Spectre.
And Andrew, I don't believe, has anything left in the tank. Let's see what he draws for the turn.
I can't imagine Bioblights in his deck right now either. You see Shumaker kind of shrug his shoulders. I got 2/2/3s. These are better than your Mutavaults. At least right now they are.
And if you're Ben, you're attacking next turn with both.
Oh boy.
So it's going to net you 2 cards. Let's see if anything good. Andrew's been drawing a lot of land, so it would make only sense that Ben starts to hit spells here.
Only attacks with 1, though. A little more cautious. Gonna trigger. See what we find. That is a Temple of Silence. That's not so bad.
Not bad.
He plays those, so he obviously likes them. Little scry action here. That card is going to the bottom. You see the Attention Sphere, and just going to pass the turn back here. Attention going to draw his card. Tenjum finds a removal spell for that other Spectre. He's going to be able to probably kill the Spectre and attack with at least 2 Mutavaults. That might change the landscape of this game.
Yeah, Ben's only at 10 right here, but it looks like Andrew just passes the turn back.
Let's see how many Spectres he wants to attack with. Just 1 yet again. Tenjum going to take 2 more, go down to 14. There's a trigger from Night Veil. That's a Lifebane Zombie.
Good hit there.
This is part of the reason that people went towards Spectre, not only in these Esper Mirrors, but against Mono Black as well. Does a nice job of defending against Mutavault, and you can basically cast every spell that you hit. And especially given Ben's mana base, he can cast them all. You see the hand there, 2 Swamps and a Deicide, so nothing doing here for Tenjum.
Yeah, and Ben gets valuable information because I think he does have a Tension Sphere in his hand, so he knows that that can likely not stick around later on, so he can play around that.
Temple puts the top card to the bottom. Shumaker's other card is Supreme Verdict right now, so both of his cards in his hand are basically useless. Tenjum picks up another useless one of his own. He picks up a Plains for the turn. Has to pass the turn back here.
Yeah, if I'm Ben, I think I'm attacking with both Night Veil Spectres now.
I want to attack with all 3 because it's a 2-turn clock.
Yeah.
He's at 14.
7, yeah. Maybe scry first. Or no, you want to just attack in case you hit Andrew's land.
I mean, it's pretty aggressive, but given that you know the contents of your opponent's hand, which isn't very much, obviously Lifebane Zombie can't be blocked by Mutavault because of Intimidate, and the 2 flyers, you can make it 2 turns and just get the game over with. He's going to play a little bit more conservative, though. This attack for 2. This could be a little bit dangerous because this gives him some more time. There's a Desecration Demon. That might close things out pretty fast, though.
Wow.
And there is Desecration Demon now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like attacking with everything because at the very least, the only way it's really terrible for you is you've hit 2 lands with the Night Veil Spectre. If you land a creature, you still get a blocker, and again, like you said, you still put them on a two-turn clock. So I'm with you. I think attacking with all 3 is probably the best play.
Tenjum looks like he finally drew a spell, and it looks to be an Underworld Connections that he's casting. So that's going to come into play. However, paying life at this point for cards, while powerful, is a little bit dangerous as he goes down to 11.
And he set aside 5 mana, but he doesn't have Grey Merchant in his deck, so we know he's got Blood Baron. Blood Baron would be okay, but yeah, it looks like he just plays a land and passes. And with him at 11, I think he's just dead to this attack. He can sacrifice one of his Mutavaults to Desecration Demon to survive this turn in a fall to 4.
A play that I think Ben would be very happy to see his opponent make.
Yeah, so let's see. Ben here. Be surprised if he just declare attackers, Mutavault gets activated by Andrew, and yep, that's going to get sacked.
See if he wants to get aggressive with this attack or not. And he's a little more aggressive this go around. Attack with 2 of those Night Veil Specters, potential down to 7. 2 triggers, Blood Baron.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that is enough, says Mr. Tenjum. Ben Shumaker does win this match. 2-0 over Andrew Tenjum, Esper Control.